The fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor buzzed like dying insects, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow that made even the living look half dead. My sneakers squeaked against the linoleum floor, a sound I'd grown to hate over the past 3 years of working double shifts as a nursing assistant. The smell of antiseptic burned my nostrils, mixing with something else, something darker that clung to the walls of St. Catherine's General Hospital. Desperation, grief, the metallic tang of blood that no amount of bleach could ever quite erase. I was invisible here. That's what exhaustion does to you. It turns you into a ghost moving through the world, seen but never really noticed. My scrubs hung loose on my frame, the pale blue fabric wrinkled from sleeping in them between shifts. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten a proper meal, or slept more than 4 hours, or felt anything other than the bone-deep weariness that had become my constant companion. "Maya, room 304 needs fresh linens," barked Nurse Patterson, not even looking up from her clipboard. She never looked at me. Nobody did. "Yes, ma'am." My voice came out barely above a whisper, hoarse from disuse. When you're poor, when you're nobody, you learn to make yourself small. You learn that the world doesn't care about your story, your struggles, your silent screams into pillows at 3 in the morning when the bills pile up faster than your paychecks. I pushed my cart toward the storage room at the end of the hall, my mind already counting, always counting. Rent was due in 5 days. The electricity bill sat unopened in my locker. My mother's medication cost more than I made in a week, and the pharmacy had started giving me those looks, the ones that said, "We know you can't afford this." The storage room door was heavy, old wood that groaned when I pushed it open. Inside, the air was cooler, mustier. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with linens, supplies, things that kept the hospital running. I reached for a stack of sheets when I heard it. Voices, low and urgent, coming from the maintenance corridor that connected to the back of the storage room. "Needs to be done tonight. He'll be vulnerable during the transition." My hands froze on the sheets. I should have left. Should have grabbed what I needed and walked away. But something in that voice made my blood run cold. A flatness, an emptiness that spoke of violence as casually as others discussed the weather. "The hit is approved. When he leaves the private wing, we take him in the parking garage. Clean? Quick." I pressed myself against the shelves, my heart hammering so hard I was sure they could hear it. Through the crack in the door, I could see shadows moving. 3 men, maybe 4. The overhead light caught on something metallic. A gun tucked into a waistband. Moretti won't see it coming. Word is he's here visiting his mother. Private wing, top floor. Security's tight, but everyone has to leave eventually. Moretti. The name echoed in my head, familiar in the way that urban legends are familiar. Everyone in this city knew that name, whispered it with a mixture of fear and reverence. Dante Moretti, the man who controlled half the city's underground, whose name alone could make grown men flinch. I'd seen the news reports, heard the rumors from patients who came in with injuries they refused to explain. I needed to leave. This wasn't my business. Whatever was about to happen in this hospital, whatever blood was about to be spilled, I shouldn't get involved. But my feet wouldn't move. 20 minutes. He's scheduled to leave at 10. The voices faded as the men moved deeper into the maintenance corridor. My hands trembled as I clutched the sheets to my chest, the fabric suddenly feeling like a shield, however useless. The clock on the wall read 9:42 p.m. I should have walked away. Instead, I found myself moving through the hospital like a woman possessed, my cart forgotten. The private wing was on the 7th floor, accessible only through a special elevator that required a keycard. But I'd worked here long enough to know the service stairs, the back ways that maintenance used, the paths that the invisible people took. My legs burned as I climbed the stairs, 2 at a time. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what I could possibly do. Warn him? A man like Dante Moretti probably had enemies lining up to kill him. Why would he listen to some nobody nursing assistant? But I kept climbing. The 7th floor was different, quieter. The walls were painted a soft cream instead of institutional white. The floors were carpeted. This was where the wealthy came to suffer in comfort, where privacy cost more per night than I made in a month. I pushed through the stairwell door, my breath coming in short gasps. A nurse at the station looked up, her expression changing from bored to suspicious in an instant. "You can't be up here." This floor requires— I need to deliver supplies, I lied, gesturing vaguely behind me. They called down for extra— We didn't call for anything. She stood, reaching for the phone. I'm going to have to ask you to— A door opened down the hall, and the world shifted. He emerged like a shadow made solid. All sharp angles and controlled power. Dante Moretti was taller than I'd imagined, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than my entire year's salary. But it wasn't the clothes that made my breath catch. It was the way he moved, like a predator who knew exactly how dangerous he was and didn't need to prove it. 2 men flanked him, broad-shouldered and alert, their eyes constantly scanning. Bodyguards, of course, but it was him I couldn't look away from. Dark hair, slightly disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. A face that would have been handsome if it weren't so hard, all sharp cheekbones and a jaw that looked like it had been carved from marble. And his eyes— God, his eyes, dark and penetrating. The kind of eyes that saw everything, missed nothing. He walked past me without a glance, talking quietly into his phone in Italian. His cologne reached me, expensive, woody, with an undertone of something darker, dangerous. He smelled like power and money and violence wrapped in silk. They were heading toward the elevator, toward the parking garage, toward death. My body moved before my mind caught up. I dropped the sheets I was still somehow clutching and ran, not gracefully, not with any plan, just ran. Sir, Mr. Moretti. The bodyguards reacted instantly, hands moving inside their jackets, bodies shifting to block their boss, but I kept coming, propelled by something I couldn't name. Stupidity, probably, mixed with a lifetime of being invisible, and suddenly, desperately, needing to be seen. Wait, please, you can't go to the parking garage. One of the bodyguards caught me, his hand like an iron band around my arm. Pain shot through my shoulder as he yanked me back. Sir, should I— Let her go. His voice was quiet, accented, but it carried absolute authority. The kind of voice that didn't need to be raised to be obeyed. The bodyguard released me immediately, though he stayed close, ready to grab me again if needed. Dante Moretti looked at me for the first time. Really looked at me, and I felt it like a physical touch. His eyes were the color of espresso, so dark they were almost black, and they swept over me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I was suddenly painfully aware of how I must look. Wrinkled scrubs, hair falling out of its ponytail, dark circles under my eyes like bruises. You know my name. It wasn't a question. He tilted his head slightly, studying me like I was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. But I don't know yours. Maya. My voice came out smaller than I intended. Maya Torres. I work here. I'm a nursing assistant. And I swallowed hard, aware of how insane I was about to sound. You can't go to the parking garage. There are men waiting. They're going to— I couldn't say it. Couldn't say kill you to this man who looked like death personified himself. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes. Interest, maybe. Or calculation. How do you know this? I heard them. In the storage room. They didn't know I was there. The words tumbled out faster now. Desperate. 3 or 4 men, I couldn't see them clearly. But they had guns. They said they were going to— when you left, in the garage. Sir. One of the bodyguards spoke urgently, his hand pressed to his earpiece. We have a situation. Security just reported unauthorized personnel in the parking structure. Multiple vehicles blocking the exits. The air changed. It was subtle. A shift in Dante Moretti's posture, a hardening of his already hard features. But suddenly, the danger that had always been implicit in him became explicit, rolling off him in waves. Get my mother moved to the safe house. Now. He spoke into his phone in rapid Italian, his eyes never leaving my face, and find out how they knew I was here. The elevator dinged. Everything happened in slow motion, and too fast at once. The doors opened, and I saw them, the same shadows I'd seen in the corridor, emerging with weapons drawn. The nurse at the station screamed, the bodyguards moved, reaching for their guns. But I moved faster. I don't know what possessed me, don't know where the courage or stupidity came from, but I lunged forward, grabbed Dante Moretti's arm, and yanked him back through the door he'd just emerged from, into the private room, away from the line of fire. He came, surprisingly, either from shock or because he chose to. And then we were in the room, his mother's room, I realized distantly, and I was pushing him behind the hospital bed, my hand shaking as I pressed him down. The smell hit me before I understood what I was doing. Lavender, cleaning solution. And underneath it, something sharp and chemical that I recognized instantly from years of working in hospitals. Gas. The maintenance work they'd been doing on this floor all week. Natural gas leak repairs. And outside, men with guns, about to fire in an enclosed corridor. One spark. That's all it would take. I covered his mouth with my hand, pressing my body against his as I pulled him lower. His breath was hot against my palm, his body rigid with tension beneath me. I could feel his heart beating, strong and steady, could feel the coiled power in him like a spring wound too tight. My lips found his ear, and I whispered the words that would change everything. Don't breathe. The world exploded. Not literally. Not yet. But the sound of gunfire erupted in the corridor, sharp cracks that echoed off the walls like thunder trapped in a cage. I pressed harder against Dante Moretti, my hand still covering his mouth. My own breath held until my lungs screamed. His body was solid beneath mine, all muscle and heat. And for a moment I was hyper-aware of every point of contact. My chest against his shoulder, my hip pressed into his side, my face so close to his that I could see the flecks of gold in those impossibly dark eyes. He didn't fight me, didn't push me away. He simply watched me with an intensity that should have terrified me, his gaze never wavering even as chaos erupted around us. The chemical smell grew stronger. I could taste it now, metallic and wrong on the back of my tongue. The maintenance crew had posted warnings all week about the gas line repairs, about keeping flames and sparks away from the 7th floor. And now there were men with guns, firing in an enclosed space, each muzzle flash a potential ignition source. Gas leak. I breathed against his ear. So quietly I wasn't sure he could hear me over the gunfire. One spark and this whole floor goes up. I felt him tense, felt the moment understanding clicked into place. His hand came up, slowly, deliberately, and wrapped around my wrist, not pulling my hand away from his mouth, just holding it there. His skin was warm, his grip firm, but not painful. A silent acknowledgement. The shooting stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. I could hear my own heartbeat, a frantic drumming that seemed loud enough to give away our position. Could hear the ragged breathing of someone in the corridor, wounded, maybe dying. Could hear footsteps, careful and measured, coming closer. Where is he? A voice, harsh and unfamiliar. Check every room. Dante's eyes narrowed. His free hand moved with practiced efficiency, reaching inside his jacket to pull out a gun, matte black, deadly efficient. He moved to rise, to step out and face whatever was coming, but I pressed down harder, shaking my head frantically. He frowned, and I saw the war play out across his features. This was a man who faced danger head-on, who probably hadn't hidden from anything in his entire life. Asking him to stay down, to let others fight his battles, went against every instinct he had. But the gas was still leaking. I could see the barely visible haze in the air near the ventilation grate. Could smell it getting stronger. Any confrontation, any gunfire in this hallway, would be suicide. Please, I mouthed, though no sound came out. The door handle turned. I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the heavy blanket from the hospital bed and threw it over both of us, pulling Dante down to the floor completely, tucking us into the narrow space between the bed and the wall. In the darkness beneath the blanket, pressed impossibly close to him, I could feel every breath he took, every subtle shift of his body. His cologne filled my senses, cedar and bergamot, with an undertone of gunpowder. Expensive and dangerous, just like him. His arm came around my waist, pulling me tighter against him, and I realized he was positioning himself between me and the door. Even now, even hiding, he was trying to protect me. The door opened fully. Footsteps entered the room. One person, maybe two. I could see the shadows moving across the floor through the tiny gap at the bottom of the blanket. Heavy boots, military style. Clear. The voice was disappointed. He's not here. Check the bathroom. Another voice. Younger, nervous, more footsteps. The sound of the bathroom door opening, closing. A pause that stretched for eternities. Nothing. Let's move. But they didn't leave. Not immediately. One of them moved closer to the bed, close enough that I could see his boots. Black tactical style, expensive. He was standing right next to us, so close that if he looked down, if he noticed the blanket on the floor instead of the bed. Dante's hand tightened on my waist. Not in fear. I didn't think this man knew how to be afraid, but in preparation. Ready to move, to fight, to kill if necessary. I could feel the coiled tension in him, like a snake about to strike. The boots turned away. The footsteps retreated. The door closed. We stayed frozen for another 30 seconds, maybe a full minute. My lungs were burning now, desperate for air, but I was afraid to breathe too deeply, afraid to move, afraid that any sound might bring them back. Finally, slowly, Dante pulled the blanket back. His eyes met mine in the dim light filtering through the window, and something passed between us, an understanding, a connection forged in shared danger. His hand was still on my waist, my hand still resting against his chest where I'd pressed it when we dove to the floor. I could feel his heart beating, steady and strong. The gas, he said quietly, his accent more pronounced in the whisper. How long? I don't know. They've been working on repairs all week. Could be minutes before it dissipates. Could be hours. He nodded once, processing. Then, with surprising gentleness, he helped me sit up, his hands steadying me when my legs shook. We stayed on the floor, backs against the wall, hidden by the hospital bed. You saved my life. He said it as a statement, not a question, his dark eyes searching my face. Why? How could I explain? I didn't understand it myself. I couldn't just let them kill you. You don't know me. You don't know what I've done, who I am, what I'm capable of. His voice was soft, almost hypnotic. For all you know, I deserve to die. Nobody deserves to be ambushed in a hospital. The words came out stronger than I felt. Your mother is here. You came to see your mother. That doesn't deserve... I couldn't finish. The adrenaline was wearing off, and my body was starting to shake in earnest now. Reaction setting in. My hands trembled, my breath coming in short gasps that had nothing to do with the gas in the air. Hey. His hand cupped my chin, tilting my face up to look at him. Breathe. Slowly. You're in shock. I'm fine. But I wasn't. I was very much not fine. I'd just witnessed an assassination attempt, had hidden from armed men, had probably inhaled toxic fumes, and was now sitting on the floor of a hospital room with one of the most dangerous men in the city. Your name is Maya. He said it like he was testing the weight of it. Maya Torres. You work here as a nursing assistant. I nodded, not trusting my voice. And you heard these men planning to kill me, and instead of running, instead of saving yourself, you came to warn me. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, a gesture so gentle it seemed at odds with everything I knew about him. Foolish. Incredibly foolish. Probably, I managed. But brave. His eyes held mine. When the shooting started, you pushed me out of the line of fire. Covered my mouth so I wouldn't breathe in the gas. Risked your own life to save mine. He paused. Why? I told you. No, his voice was firm now. The truth. Why would a woman who looks half dead from exhaustion, who clearly has her own problems, risk everything for a stranger? The truth. The truth was, I didn't know. The truth was that in that moment, when I'd seen him walking toward his death, something in me had broken, or maybe not broken, maybe awakened. Maybe after years of being invisible, of being nobody, of letting the world grind me down into dust, I'd finally seen a chance to matter, to do something that mattered, because I'm tired of being invisible, I whispered, because for once, just once, I wanted to be someone who did something that mattered. His expression shifted, something almost like recognition flickering in those dark eyes. Like he understood somehow. Like maybe he too knew what it was like to be invisible, even if in a different way. Well, Maya Torres. He stood in one fluid motion, pulling me up with him. You are definitely not invisible anymore. He pulled out his phone, speaking rapidly in Italian. I caught fragments. Situazione contenuta, gas, settimo piano, mia madre, mother. He was arranging for his mother to be moved, for the gas to be dealt with, for security to sweep the hospital. As he talked, I noticed the blood on his sleeve for the first time. Not his blood. One of his bodyguards, probably. The reality of what had just happened crashed over me like a wave. People had died in that corridor, maybe people I knew, co-workers, patients. Because of this man. Because of the world he inhabited. I need to go, I said suddenly. I need to check on. There might be casualties. I need to. You're not going anywhere. He ended his call, his attention snapping back to me with laser focus. Those men are still in the hospital. You think they won't question how I disappeared? You think they won't look for anyone who helped me? My stomach dropped. But I'm nobody. I'm just... You stopped being nobody the moment you saved my life. He moved closer, crowding into my space. Not threatening exactly, but overwhelming. They will find you, Maya. They will hurt you to get to me. They will torture you for information. And then they will kill you. The room tilted slightly. I can't. I have to work. My mother needs... I have bills. Your bills will be paid. He said it like it was already decided. Your mother will have the best care, and you... His hand caught my chin again, forcing me to look at him. You will come with me. You will be under my protection. It's not a request. You can't just... I can. Those two words held absolute certainty. And I will, because whether you like it or not, you're involved now. You're in my world now, and in my world, debts are paid. I don't want anything from you. My voice came out smaller than I intended. I just wanted... I know what you wanted. His thumb traced my lower lip, a touch that sent electricity racing down my spine. You wanted to matter. Congratulations, Maya. You matter very much now. The door burst open. Dante moved instantly, putting himself between me and the door, his gun raised. But it was his men. More bodyguards, these ones unfamiliar to me, dressed in tactical gear. Sir, the area is secure. We have vehicles waiting in the underground loading dock. Your mother is already en route to the safe house. The man's eyes flicked to me, then back to his boss. What about the girl? She comes with us. Dante's voice brooked no argument. Prepare a room at the estate. Full security detail. No one gets near her without my authorization. Sir, if I may, bringing an outsider to the estate. She's not an outsider. Dante holstered his gun, his hand finding the small of my back. She's under my personal protection. Anyone who touches her answers to me. Understood. The bodyguard's expression shifted to something like pity as he looked at me. Understood, sir. And just like that, my life as I knew it ended. Dante guided me toward the door, his hand never leaving my back. In the corridor, I could see the aftermath. Bullet holes in the walls, blood on the floor, overturned equipment. But no bodies. His men had already cleaned up, efficient and thorough. My things, I said weakly. My locker, will be collected. He didn't slow down. Anything you need will be provided. But my mother is being moved to a private facility as we speak. The best neurological care in the state. She'll have round-the-clock nursing, any medication she needs, any treatment available. He glanced at me. She'll be safe, Maya. I protect what's mine. What's mine? The words echoed in my head as he led me through corridors I'd never seen before. Service elevators that required special keys, doors that opened to reveal armed men who nodded to Dante with barely concealed deference. We were in the bowels of the hospital now, moving through maintenance tunnels that smelled of concrete and machinery. A black SUV waited in the loading dock, armored and pristine. The door opened, and Dante guided me inside, sliding in next to me. The interior smelled like leather and money. The seats were soft enough to sink into. The windows were tinted so dark I could barely see out. As we pulled away from the hospital, from my job, my life, everything I knew, I caught a glimpse of police cars arriving, lights flashing in the darkness. Too late. Always too late. Where are we going? My voice sounded strange in the luxury of the vehicle, small and out of place. Somewhere safe. Dante was watching me with that intense gaze again. My estate. Outside the city. No one can reach you there. This is kidnapping. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't. Not really. He'd given me a choice. Come with him, or face his enemies alone. And we both knew what would happen if I chose the latter. This is protection. His hand found mine in the darkness, his fingers lacing through mine. The touch should have terrified me. Instead, it anchored me, kept me from flying apart. In payment of a debt, you saved my life, Maya Torres. That means something in my world. It means everything. The city lights blurred past the windows as we drove into the night, leaving behind everything I'd ever known. My apartment with its peeling paint and broken heater, my double shifts and mounting bills, my invisibility. I'd wanted to matter. Now I mattered to the most dangerous man in the city. I just wasn't sure if that was salvation or damnation. The estate rose from the darkness like something out of a Gothic novel, all stone and iron, surrounded by walls high enough to keep out an army. Guards patrolled the perimeter, their silhouettes sharp against the security lights. As our SUV passed through the gates, I caught glimpses of manicured lawns, fountains, gardens that probably cost more to maintain than I'd earn in a lifetime. This wasn't just wealth. This was power made manifest in marble and steel. The vehicle stopped in front of massive wooden doors that looked like they belonged to a medieval fortress. Dante exited first, then offered me his hand. I hesitated. Taking that hand felt like accepting something I didn't fully understand, crossing a threshold I could never uncross. But what choice did I have? His fingers closed around mine, warm and certain, and he pulled me from the car with surprising gentleness. Up close, in the light spilling from the house, I could see the tension in his jaw, the tightness around his eyes. The assassination attempt had affected him more than he let on. "Welcome to my home," he said, though his tone suggested this was anything but a welcoming. Inside, the entrance hall was all dark wood and crystal chandeliers, the kind of opulence that made me acutely aware of my wrinkled scrubs and scuffed sneakers. A woman appeared, older, dressed in a crisp black uniform, her gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. "Signor Moretti." She nodded respectfully, her eyes sliding to me with barely concealed curiosity. "Your mother arrived safely. She's resting in the East Wing. Dr. Castellano is with her." "Good." Dante's hand remained on the small of my back, a constant presence. "Mrs. Chen, this is Maya Torres. She'll be staying with us. Prepare the blue room, the one adjacent to my suite." Mrs. Chen's eyebrows rose fractionally. "The blue room, sir? But that's—" "I'm aware." His tone left no room for discussion. "She's to have access to anything she needs. Clothes, toiletries, food. Whatever she asks for." He paused. "And she's under my personal protection. Everyone on staff is to be informed." "Of course, sir." Mrs. Chen's expression shifted to something almost sympathetic as she looked at me. "If you'll follow me, Miss Torres." "Go," Dante said softly, releasing me. "Clean up, rest. We'll talk in the morning." But as Mrs. Chen led me up a sweeping staircase, I heard him speaking in rapid Italian to someone, his voice hard, angry, demanding answers about how the attack had been planned, who had betrayed him, how they'd known he would be at the hospital. The blue room was absurd. There was no other word for it. The bed was larger than my entire apartment bedroom, draped in silk that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the grounds, though heavy curtains could be drawn for privacy. A bathroom attached, all marble and gold fixtures, with a tub deep enough to swim in. "There are clothes in the closet," Mrs. Chen said, her accent British, precise. "They should fit reasonably well. Mr. Moretti had them delivered while we were traveling." At my shocked expression, she smiled slightly. "He's very thorough. Dinner can be sent up if you're hungry, or you can join the household in the morning for breakfast." "I don't understand." The words burst out before I could stop them. "Why is he doing this? I'm nobody. I'm just—" "You saved his life, Mrs." Chen's expression softened. "In Mr. Moretti's world, that's everything. Loyalty, Sacrifice. These are currencies more valuable than gold. She moved toward the door, then paused. A word of advice, Miss Torres. Don't try to leave. The guards have orders to keep you safe, which means keeping you here, for your own protection. She left me alone in the absurd luxury of the blue room, and the reality of my situation crashed over me like a wave. I was a prisoner. A gilded, pampered prisoner, but a prisoner nonetheless. My hands shook as I peeled off my scrubs, as I stepped into a shower that had more settings than my car had. The hot water should have been relaxing, but I couldn't stop replaying the night, the gunfire, the blood. Dante's body pressed against mine in the darkness, his hand over mine, his breath against my neck. Don't breathe. Those 2 words had saved us both. But at what cost? I found clothes in the closet, designer labels I recognized from magazine ads, in exactly my size. Soft cashmere, silk blouses, jeans that fit like they'd been made for me, because they probably had been. In the space of a few hours, Dante had researched me, measured me, provided for me. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it made me feel seen in a way I hadn't been seen in years. I couldn't sleep. The bed was too soft, the room too quiet, my mind too loud. Around 3 a.m, I gave up and wandered to the windows, pulling back the curtains to look out over the grounds. Security lights illuminated the gardens, and I could see guards making their rounds, their vigilance never wavering. A knock at the door made me jump. "Come in," I called, expecting Mrs. Chen or perhaps a maid. Instead, Dante entered, still dressed in his suit, though he'd lost the jacket. His shirt was partially unbuttoned, revealing a glimpse of tanned skin and what looked like scars. Old ones, silver against his olive complexion. He carried 2 glasses and a bottle of what was probably very expensive whiskey. "You should be sleeping," he said, closing the door behind him. "So should you." A slight smile touched his lips, the first genuine expression I'd seen from him. "Touché." He moved to the sitting area by the window, pouring 2 glasses. "Join me?" I should have said no. Should have maintained some distance, some boundary between captor and captive. But I was tired of should-haves, tired of always doing what was expected. I sat across from him, accepting the glass. The whiskey burned going down, warming me from the inside out. "I spoke with the hospital," he said, his eyes on the amber liquid in his glass. 3 of my men died tonight, 2 of theirs. The gas leak was reported and contained before it could ignite. He looked up at me. "If you hadn't warned me about the gas, hadn't made me take cover, that entire floor would have exploded. Everyone on it would have died, including my mother." The weight of those words settled between us. "I'm sorry about your men," I said quietly. They knew the risks, but his jaw tightened. They were good men. Loyal. They died protecting me. And the men who attacked, who were they? Rivals. The Volkov family, most likely. They've been making moves on my territory for months. His expression darkened. Someone told them I would be at the hospital tonight. Someone close to me. And when I find out who... He didn't finish, but he didn't need to. I could imagine what would happen to whoever had betrayed him. "Your mother," I said, changing the subject. "How is she?" Something shifted in his expression. A vulnerability I hadn't expected. Alzheimer's, advanced stage. Some days she knows me. Some days she thinks I'm my father. He took a long drink. "She's all I have left. My father died when I was 20. My brother." He stopped abruptly. "You don't have to tell me," I said softly. "No, I don't." But after a moment he continued. "My brother, Marco, died 3 years ago. Betrayed by someone he trusted. Killed in front of me. I couldn't..." His hand tightened on the glass. I couldn't save him. The pain in his voice was raw, real. This wasn't the dangerous mob boss, the man who commanded fear and respect in equal measure. This was just a man, grieving losses he couldn't prevent, protecting the one family member he had left. "I'm sorry," I whispered. His eyes met mine, intense and searching. "You understand loss. I can see it in you. In the way you carry yourself, like you're afraid to take up too much space in the world. My father left when I was 12, I heard myself saying, though I never talked about this. Never. My mother developed early-onset dementia 2 years later. I've been taking care of her ever since, working multiple jobs, trying to afford her medications, her care. I laughed bitterly. I've been invisible for so long. I forgot what it felt like to be seen. You're seen now. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, closing the distance between us. Maybe too seen. Everyone in my organization will know about you by morning. The woman who saved Dante Moretti's life. They'll want to know who you are, what you mean to me, whether you're a weakness they can exploit. And am I? The question came out barely above a whisper. A weakness? His hand reached out, cupping my face with a gentleness that contradicted everything I knew about him. His thumb traced my cheekbone, the same gesture from the hospital, and I found myself leaning into the touch despite every logical instinct screaming at me to pull away. I don't know yet, he said honestly. But I know that I can't let anything happen to you. You put yourself in danger for me, a stranger, a monster by most people's definition. That kind of loyalty, that kind of courage. His voice dropped lower. It's rare. Precious. And in my world, precious things must be protected at all costs. I'm not precious. But even as I said it, his touch made me feel like maybe I could be. Maybe in his eyes, I already was. You don't see yourself clearly. His other hand found my free one, his fingers lacing through mine like they had in the car. You see someone small, invisible, worn down by the world. I see someone strong enough to survive years of hardship, brave enough to run toward danger instead of away from it, selfless enough to risk everything for a stranger. You don't know me. No, he agreed. But I'd like to. The air between us charged with something electric, dangerous. I should have pulled away. Should have remembered who he was, what he did, the blood on his hands and the violence in his wake. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself asking, what happens now? Tomorrow, next week, what happens to me? Tomorrow, you rest. You eat. You let yourself be taken care of for once in your goddamn life. His intensity never wavered. Next week, we figure out who betrayed me and we eliminate the threat. And you stay here, under my protection, until it's safe. And if it's never safe? His smile was dark, almost predatory. Then I guess you're mine forever. The words should have terrified me. Instead, they sent heat coursing through my veins, awakening something in me I thought had died years ago, the ability to want, to need, to feel anything beyond exhaustion and despair. I should go, I said, though I didn't move. You should. But his hand tightened on mine. Stay. Just for a while. Let me... He stopped, as if the words were difficult. Let me not be alone tonight. And there it was, the truth beneath the power and violence. He was alone too, surrounded by guards and subordinates and fear, but fundamentally, devastatingly alone. So I stayed. We talked until dawn painted the sky pink and gold. He told me about growing up in his father's shadow, about the weight of inheriting an empire built on blood and fear, about his mother's laughter before the disease stole her memories, about Marco, the brother who'd been his best friend, his confidant, his conscience. I told him about my mother's decline, about watching the woman who raised me forget my name, my face, our entire history together, about the exhaustion that had become my constant companion, the invisible weight of trying to survive in a world designed to crush people like me. As the sun rose, he stood, offering me his hand. Come. I want to show you something. He led me through the quiet house, down corridors lined with art that probably belonged in museums, past rooms I couldn't even name. We ended up on a terrace overlooking the gardens, the morning light turning everything golden. This is my favorite place, he said quietly. When everything becomes too much, when the weight of what I am threatens to drown me, I come here. Watch the sunrise. Remember that the world keeps turning. Regardless of the blood we spill or the empires we build. I stood next to him, close enough that our arms brushed, and watched the sun climb higher. For a moment, just a moment, I let myself imagine this could be my life. Standing on terraces at dawn, with a dangerous man who looked at me like I mattered, being seen, wanted, protected. But reality was waiting, as it always did. Sir. A guard approached, respectful but urgent. You're needed in the security office. We have information about the attack. Dante's expression hardened instantly, the vulnerability from moments ago vanishing behind the mask of the mob boss. But before he left, he turned to me, his hand cupping my face one more time. "Stay safe, Maya. Don't leave the grounds. Don't trust anyone except Mrs. Chen and my personal guards, the ones wearing the silver pins." His thumb brushed my lip. "Promise me." "I promise." He studied my face for a long moment, as if memorizing it, then turned and strode away, all lethal grace and controlled power, leaving me alone on the terrace, watching the sunrise over a world I no longer understood. I'd saved his life. Now he'd claimed mine. The question was, what would he do with it? 3 days passed in a strange, suspended reality. I existed in a gilded cage, pampered and protected in equal measure. Mrs. Chen brought me meals I didn't have to cook, clothes I didn't have to wash, books I actually had time to read. The guards with silver pins nodded respectfully when they saw me, treating me with a deference I didn't understand and certainly didn't deserve. But Dante was gone. He'd left that morning after showing me the sunrise, disappearing into whatever dark business required his attention. I caught glimpses of him occasionally, a shadow moving through the hallway late at night, his voice raised in anger behind closed doors, the sound of vehicles coming and going at all hours. The estate felt different without his presence, emptier, like a stage missing its lead actor. On the 4th day, I woke to find a note slipped under my door, written in sharp, precise handwriting. "My mother would like to meet you. East Wing, 10 a.m. D." My hands trembled as I held the paper. Meeting his mother felt significant, weighted with implications I couldn't quite name. I dressed carefully in one of the simpler outfits from the closet, dove gray cashmere and dark jeans, and made my way through the maze of corridors to the East Wing. The hallway was quieter here, the air scented with lavender and something medicinal. A nurse sat outside one of the rooms, reading a magazine. She looked up as I approached, her expression professional but kind. "Miss Torres? Mrs. Moretti is expecting you. She's having a good day today, very lucid." The nurse's smile was encouraging. "Don't be nervous. She's lovely." The room beyond was beautiful in its simplicity. Soft cream walls, gauzy curtains filtering the morning light, fresh flowers on every surface. And in a chair by the window sat a woman who must have been stunning in her youth. Silver hair, fine bone structure, eyes the same dark espresso as her son's. "You must be Maya." Her voice was accented, warm. She set down her book and studied me with an intensity that was achingly familiar. "Come, sit. Let me look at you." I crossed the room on shaking legs, sitting in the chair across from her. Up close I could see the fragility in her, the thinness of her wrists, the slight tremor in her hands, the way her eyes sometimes drifted before refocusing. "My son speaks of you," she said, those sharp eyes missing nothing. "He says you saved his life. I just warned him. Anyone would have... No." Her hand reached out, surprisingly strong as it gripped mine. "Not anyone. Most people would have run, would have saved themselves, but you ran toward the danger. You protected him." Her eyes glistened. "You protected my boy." The emotion in her voice made my throat tight. I couldn't let them hurt him. Why? It was the same question Dante had asked, but from her it felt different. Not interrogation, just genuine curiosity. "You didn't know him. You owed him nothing." "I don't know," I admitted. When I saw him, when I knew what was about to happen, I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't be invisible anymore." She smiled, and I saw where Dante got his rare, genuine expressions. "Invisible. Yes, I understand that. I am invisible now too. The disease. It steals you piece by piece until even your own son looks at you and sees a stranger." "He doesn't see a stranger." The words came out fierce, surprising both of us. "When he talks about you, there's so much love. So much fear of losing you. You're not invisible to him." Tears spilled over, tracking down her weathered cheeks. "He is a good boy. A good man. The world sees a monster, but I see my Dante. The boy who cried when his goldfish died. Who brought me flowers every Sunday. Who held his brother when..." She stopped, her expression clouding. "Marco. Where is Marco? He should be here. He promised he would visit." My heart broke. Moretti, Mrs. He's dead, isn't he? Her clarity was sudden, devastating. My Marco is dead and I keep forgetting. Every time I remember, it's like losing him again. She gripped my hand harder. Dante thinks I don't notice, thinks the disease has taken that memory. But some pains are too deep to forget completely. I didn't know what to say, so I just held her hand and let her cry. Promise me something, she said after a while, her voice stronger. Promise me you'll take care of him. He carries so much darkness, so much weight. He needs light in his life. He needs someone who sees the man, not the monster. I'm nobody, I whispered. You're the woman who risked everything to save him. Her eyes locked with mine. You're exactly who he needs. Promise me. I promise. She smiled, settling back in her chair with a satisfied sigh. Good. Now, tell me about yourself. Dante said your mother is ill too? We talked for over an hour. She drifted occasionally, calling me by different names, asking about people long dead, but always came back, sharp and present. When I finally left, she hugged me with surprising strength. Welcome to our family, Maya, she whispered. The words followed me back through the corridors, echoing in my head. Family. As if I could be part of this world, this dangerous, violent, beautiful world. I found Dante in what Mrs. Chen called the study, a room lined floor to ceiling with books, dominated by a massive desk covered in papers and laptops. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian, but his eyes found me the moment I entered. He held up one finger, and finished his conversation, then set the phone down with deliberate care. You met my mother. Not a question. She's wonderful. I stayed by the door, suddenly unsure. She's sharp, funny, kind. Even with the disease, she liked you. He stood, moving around the desk with that predatory grace. She told me. Said you have kind eyes, that you'll be good for me. His mouth quirked. She also said I should marry you before some other smart man snatches you away. Heat flooded my face. She's ill. She knows exactly what she's saying. He stopped in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. My mother has always been an excellent judge of character. If she likes you, it means something. Dante. His name felt strange on my tongue, intimate. What am I doing here? Really? It's been 4 days and I still don't understand. I told you, you're under my protection, but for how long? Forever? Until your enemies are dealt with? Until you decide I'm not worth the trouble? The questions burst out, driven by 4 days of uncertainty. I can't just exist in limbo. I need to know. His hand caught my chin, tilting my face up. You want the truth? Yes. The truth is, I don't know what you are to me yet. His thumb traced my lower lip, sending electricity down my spine. Protection, yes. A debt to be repaid, absolutely. But there's something else. Something that's been growing since you covered my mouth in that hospital room and whispered for me not to breathe. My heart hammered against my ribs. What? Obsession. The word was stark, honest. You've gotten under my skin, Maya Torres. Into my head. I think about you constantly, whether you're safe, whether you're happy, whether you'll run the first chance you get. His grip tightened fractionally. I want you to stay. Not because you're in danger, not because I owe you, but because I want you here, in my house, in my life. That's not... You can't just... I can. His face moved closer, his breath ghosting across my lips. I'm Dante Moretti. I take what I want and I protect what's mine. And I want you, Maya. I want you so badly it's driving me insane. This is crazy. But I didn't pull away. Couldn't pull away. We barely know each other. Then let's fix that. His hands framed my face, forcing me to hold his gaze. Stay. Not as a prisoner. Not as someone under protection. Stay because you want to. Stay and let me show you what it's like to be seen, wanted, treasured. Stay and let me give you everything you've been denied your entire life. And what do you get? My voice came out breathless. His smile was dark, possessive. You. He kissed me then, and the world exploded into sensation. His lips were demanding, claiming, but somehow gentle at the same time. His hands tangled in my hair, angling my head to deepen the kiss, and I found myself responding with a hunger I didn't know I possessed. This was insane, reckless, dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with bullets or enemies. But God, I wanted it. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His eyes were nearly black with desire, his usual control fraying at the edges. "Stay," he said again, his voice rough. "Say you'll stay." The door burst open. A man entered, tall, scarred, with cold eyes that assessed me in an instant. "Sir, we have a problem. The Volkovs know about the girl. They're asking questions, making threats." Dante's expression shifted instantly, all heat replaced by ice. "How?" "Someone leaked photos from the hospital. Her face is all over their networks." The man's jaw tightened. "They're offering money for information about her. Where she is, who she is to you." My blood ran cold. "What does that mean?" Dante turned to me, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw real fear in his eyes. Not for himself. For me. "It means they know you matter to me." His hands gripped my shoulders. "It means they'll use you to get to me. They'll take you, hurt you, kill you to prove a point." "But I'm nobody." "You're not nobody." His voice cracked with intensity. He stopped, visibly wrestling with control. "You're important. To me, and that makes you a target." The scarred man cleared his throat. "Sir, recommendations?" "Lock down the estate. Double the guards on her detail. No one gets in or out without my personal authorization." Dante's hands slid down to grip mine. "And prepare the panic room. If they breach the walls, that's where she goes." "Understood." The man left, and suddenly we were alone again. The moment from before shattered. "This is my fault," I said numbly. "If I hadn't saved you, if I'd just minded my own business, if you hadn't saved me, I'd be dead." His forehead pressed against mine. "Don't regret it. Please don't regret it." "I don't." And surprisingly, I meant it. "But I don't want to be the reason more people die. I don't want to be a weakness that destroys you." "You're not a weakness." His hands cupped my face again. He seemed to struggle with the words. "You're the first thing in years that's made me feel human. That's made me want something other than revenge and blood and power." "Dante, I know this is too much, too fast. I know I'm asking for things I have no right to ask for." His eyes searched mine, desperate. "But stay. Please. Stay and let me keep you safe. Stay and—" His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Stay because maybe, just maybe, I should have said no. Good in all this darkness. Should have demanded he let me go. Let me return to my small, invisible life where no one wanted to kill me for existing. But I didn't." "Okay," I whispered. "I'll stay." His kiss was different this time, softer, slower, full of something that felt dangerously close to tenderness. When he pulled back, his smile was genuine, lighting up his face in a way that stole my breath. "Thank you," he said simply. Over the next week, I learned what it meant to live in Dante Moretti's world. I learned that he worked constantly, managing an empire that stretched across the city and beyond. That he was ruthless in business, but loyal to those who earned it. That he visited his mother every morning, reading to her even when she didn't recognize him. I learned that his scars told stories. Knife fights, bullet wounds, a childhood marked by violence. That he spoke 4 languages fluently. That he loved opera and classical music, playing it softly in his study while he worked. I learned that his obsession with my safety bordered on paranoia. Guards followed me everywhere, even just walking through the gardens. He had my food tasted before I ate it. He installed cameras in every corridor, personally reviewing footage each night. But I also learned gentleness I hadn't expected. The way he'd find me in the library and sit quietly, reading beside me. How he'd take my hand during tense moments, grounding both of us. The way he'd pull me into his lap in the evenings, holding me close while he made phone calls in Italian, his fingers absently stroking my hair. We didn't sleep together, not in that way, but he'd come to my room late at night, unable to sleep, and we'd talk until dawn. About everything and nothing. About his fears and my dreams and the strange, impossible thing growing between us, until the night everything changed. I woke to the sound of gunfire. The gunfire shattered the night like glass breaking. Sharp, violent, too close. I bolted upright in bed, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. For a disorienting moment, I thought I was back at the hospital, back in that corridor filled with gas and death, but no. This was worse. This was the estate. This was supposed to be safe. The door burst open and Dante was there, already dressed in tactical gear, a gun in his hand. His face was a mask of controlled fury, but his eyes, God, his eyes, burned with something primal when they found me. "Get up, now!" He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulling me from the bed. "They've breached the walls. The Volkovs. They brought an army." More gunfire erupted, closer now. I could hear shouting, the sound of breaking glass, an explosion that shook the entire house. "How many?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Too many." He was already moving, pulling me toward the door. "But I'm getting you out. There's a tunnel under the house, leads to a safe location 2 miles away. What about your mother?" He stopped, his jaw tightening. "She's already secured. My men have her in the south wing. There's a separate exit. She'll be safe. And you?" I grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at me. "What about you? I'm ending this." His expression was lethal. "The Volkovs want war, I'll give them war. But first, I'm getting you to safety." We ran through corridors I'd walked peacefully just hours before, now filled with smoke and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Guards lay dead or dying, their blood staining the expensive carpets. I tried not to look, tried not to think about the fact that these men were dying to protect me, to protect Dante's obsession with keeping me safe. We reached his study, and he moved immediately to the bookshelf, pressing something that made it swing open to reveal a hidden passage. The tunnel beyond was narrow, concrete, lit by emergency lights that cast everything in harsh red. "Go." He tried to push me forward, but I resisted. "Come with me." "I can't. My men are fighting. My mother is still in the house. I won't abandon them to save myself." "Then I'm not going either." His eyes flashed with anger. "Maya, this isn't a negotiation." "You're right. It's not." I planted my feet, meeting his fury with my own. "You told me I matter to you, that I'm important. Well, you matter to me too, Dante. And I'm not running while you stay here and die. If you stay, you'll be captured. Tortured. They'll use you against me, make me watch while they—" He couldn't finish, his control cracking. "I can't let that happen. I won't. Then we fight together." I grabbed his face, forcing him to look at me. "You said I was brave. Prove you meant it. Let me be brave now." For a moment, I saw the war raging behind his eyes. The need to protect me versus the knowledge that I was right, that sending me away alone might be just as dangerous. The tunnel could be compromised. His enemies could be waiting at the other end. An explosion rocked the house closer than before. Debris rained from the ceiling. Fuck. He made his decision in an instant, pulling me back toward the study. "Stay behind me. Always behind me. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" "Understood." He handed me a gun, smaller than his, but deadly all the same. "Do you know how to use this? Point and shoot?" His laugh was harsh, almost desperate. "Close enough. Safety's off. Don't hesitate. These men won't." We moved back through the house, but differently now. Dante in full combat mode, every movement precise and lethal. He communicated with his men through an earpiece, coordinating defenses, calling for backup, assessing threats. The main hall had become a war zone, bodies everywhere. His men, their men, impossible to tell who was winning. Dante moved through it like a force of nature, his gun barking with deadly accuracy. Each shot found its target. Each movement was calculated. I stayed behind him, my own gun raised, trying not to think about the fact that I might have to actually use it. Then I saw him, a man in black tactical gear, raising his weapon toward Dante's back. Dante didn't see him, focused on threats ahead. I didn't think. just moved. The gun kicked in my hand, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. The man went down, blood blooming across his chest. I'd shot him. I'd killed someone. Dante whipped around, saw the body, saw me standing there with the smoking gun. Something changed in his expression. Pride mixed with horror. "Good shot," he said quietly. Then louder. "Stay close." We fought our way to the east wing where his mother was supposed to be secured, but when we burst through the doors, my heart stopped. The room was destroyed, guards dead, and his mother, gone. No. The word was torn from Dante, raw and broken. "No, no, no." His earpiece crackled. "Sir, we have visual on the Volkovs. They're retreating. They have a hostage." Dante's face went white. "Show me." One of his men brought up footage on a tablet. Grainy, but clear enough. The Volkovs loading someone into a vehicle. Someone small, fragile, silver-haired. His mother. The sound that came from Dante was inhuman. Rage and grief and desperation all mixed together. He spun toward me, and I saw something break in him. "This is my fault," he said, his voice hollow. "I brought you here. I made you important to me. They took her because of you, to hurt me through you." The words cut deeper than any bullet could. "Dante, they'll kill her." He was spiraling, I could see it. "They'll kill her to punish me for protecting you, because I chose you over. Then we get her back." I grabbed his face, forcing him to focus. "We get her back, Dante. Together, you hear me? We don't give up. We fight." He stared at me, and slowly, so slowly, I saw him come back from whatever dark edge he'd been teetering on. "We get her back," he repeated, his voice gaining strength. The next hours were a blur of controlled chaos. Dante's entire organization mobilized. Every contact, every informant, every resource he had went toward finding his mother. I stayed by his side through all of it, refusing to be sent away, refusing to be protected while he burned himself out trying to fix this. Finally, at dawn, they had a location. A warehouse on the docks, cliché, but effective. The Volkovs were holding her there, waiting for Dante to come. "It's a trap," his second-in-command said flatly. "They want you to come. They'll kill you both." "I know." Dante was already loading weapons. "I'm going anyway." "Then I'm coming too." I didn't give him a chance to argue. "She asked me to take care of you. I promised her. I'm not breaking that promise." His eyes met mine, full of something I couldn't name. "If we do this, there's no going back. You'll have blood on your hands. Real blood. You'll be part of my world completely. No more innocence. No more pretending you're not involved." I stopped being innocent the night I saved your life. I picked up the smaller gun he'd given me earlier. "I'm already part of your world, Dante. Might as well own it." He pulled me into a fierce kiss, desperate and claiming and full of everything we hadn't said to each other. "Stay alive," he murmured against my lips. "Whatever happens, stay alive. Promise me. Only if you promise the same. Deal." We went to war. The warehouse was exactly as expected, dark, full of shipping containers, countless places for an ambush. Dante's men surrounded it, but he and I went in through the front. Bold, reckless. Exactly what they'd expect from him. The Volkovs were waiting, 20 men, maybe more, all armed. And in the center, tied to a chair, was his mother. She looked small, terrified. But when she saw Dante, her face lit up. "My boy," she called out, her voice trembling. "I knew you'd come. Let her go, Alexei." Dante's voice echoed through the warehouse. "This is between you and me. She's innocent." A man stepped forward, tall, broad, with cold blue eyes and a smile that made my skin crawl. Alexei Volkov, presumably. "Innocent?" He laughed. "No one connected to you is innocent, Moretti. Your mother raised you, made you what you are. And this girl..." His eyes found me, and I felt them like a physical violation. "This girl you've been keeping like a pet. She matters to you. That makes her guilty. Let them go, and I'll surrender." Dante's gun was raised, but his voice was steady. "You want me dead? Fine, but let them go first." "No!" I grabbed his arm. "Dante, you can't." "I can and I will. His eyes met mine one last time. Remember what I told you. You matter. Don't ever forget that. He started to lower his gun. That's when his mother spoke. Dante Moretti, you put that gun back up right now. Her voice was sharp, clear, completely lucid. I didn't raise a quitter. I didn't raise a man who surrenders. Everyone froze. She looked at Alexei with contempt. You think tying up an old woman makes you powerful? You think threatening innocence makes you strong? She spat at his feet. You're nothing, just another coward hiding behind guns. Alexei's face darkened. He raised his gun toward her. Everything happened at once. Dante fired. A perfect shot that took down Alexei before he could pull the trigger. The warehouse erupted in gunfire. Dante's men burst through every entrance. I dove for cover, my own gun raised, firing at anyone who came near us. Dante fought like a demon, his movements fluid and lethal. He reached his mother, cutting her bonds with a knife he pulled from somewhere, shielding her body with his own as bullets flew. I provided cover, my shots wild but effective enough to keep enemies back. My ears rang, my hands shook. But I kept firing, kept moving, kept fighting, and then suddenly, silence. The Volkovs were dead, all of them. The warehouse floor was littered with bodies, the air thick with smoke and the copper smell of blood. Dante held his mother, checking her for injuries. She was crying, but alive, whole. I'm okay, she was saying. I'm okay, my boy. Thanks to you. Thanks to your brave girl. He looked at me then, across the warehouse floor, and I saw everything in his eyes. Relief, gratitude, love, raw and terrifying and absolutely real. I crossed to him, my legs shaking, and he pulled me into his arms with his free hand. His mother on one side, me on the other. We stood there in the aftermath of violence, 3 survivors holding each other in the wreckage. It's over, he said quietly. The Volkovs are finished. You're safe. My mother is safe. What happens now? I asked, though I thought I already knew. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing away tears I hadn't realized I was crying. Now? Now I keep my promise. I show you what it's like to be treasured, to be seen, to be loved. Loved? The word came out barely a whisper. Loved, he confirmed, his eyes never leaving mine. I love you, Maya Torres. I've probably loved you since you covered my mouth and whispered for me not to breathe. You saved my life. You saved my mother's life. You stood by me when you should have run. How could I not love you? This is insane, I said. But I was smiling through tears. We barely know each other. This isn't how love works. Then tell me you don't feel it too. His voice was gentle, challenging. Tell me you don't want this. Us. And I'll let you go. I'll set you up somewhere safe. Give you everything you need to start over. Just say the word. I looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man who'd killed to protect me, who'd fought through hell to save his mother, who'd given me a place in his world when I'd been invisible to everyone else, who looked at me like I was precious, valuable, worth dying for. I thought about my old life, the exhaustion, the invisibility, the slow death of being ground down by poverty and circumstance. And I thought about this new life, dangerous, yes, bloody and violent and morally complicated, but also full of passion and purpose, and the strange, fierce connection I'd never felt with anyone before. I can't say the word, I admitted, because I feel it too. This impossible, insane, terrifying thing. I love you, Dante Moretti. God help me, I do. His kiss was different this time, not desperate or claiming, but tender. A promise. A beginning. Marry me, he said against my lips. What? Marry me. Make this official. Be my wife, my partner, my everything. He pulled back to look at me, his expression serious. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I also know that life is short, and love is rare, and I don't want to waste another second not being completely yours. Your mother was right, I said, laughing through tears. She told you to marry me before some other smart man snatched me away. My mother is always right. He glanced at her. She was being tended to by his men, but was watching us with a knowing smile. So, what do you say, Maya? Will you marry a monster? I touched his face, tracing the line of his jaw. You're not a monster. You're a man who protects what he loves, who values loyalty and family above everything, who gave an invisible woman a reason to be seen. I smiled. Yes, I'll marry you. The smile that broke across his face was incandescent, pure joy, untainted by the violence surrounding us. 6 months later, I stood in a garden filled with white roses, wearing a dress that cost more than my old apartment, surrounded by people who'd once terrified me but now felt like family. Dante's mother sat in the front row, lucid and radiant, crying happy tears. And Dante looked at me like I was his salvation, his redemption, his everything. We'd had our blood and fire, we'd had our violence and fear and desperate fights for survival. Now, finally, we had peace. As he slipped the ring onto my finger, as he kissed me in front of everyone who mattered, I thought about the night I'd covered his mouth and whispered, "Don't breathe," about how that single moment had changed both our lives irrevocably. I'd saved his life, and in return, he'd given me one worth living. We weren't perfect. Our love was born in violence and would probably always carry that shadow, but it was ours, fierce and real and absolutely unbreakable. I was no longer invisible. I was Maya Moretti, wife of the most dangerous man in the city, protected, cherished, loved beyond measure, and I'd never been happier. Later that night, in the privacy of our bedroom, as Dante held me close and whispered promises in Italian against my skin, I thought about everything that had led us here. The hospital, the gas, the gunfire, the fear, and the fighting and the blood. "Do you regret it?" he asked softly, as if reading my mind. "Any of it?" I thought about my old life, about being nobody, invisible, ground down by the weight of just existing, about never mattering to anyone. Then I thought about this, being held by a man who'd burned the world for me, who looked at me like I was precious, who'd given me purpose and passion and a love so intense it sometimes scared me. "Not for a second," I said honestly. "You?" His arms tightened around me. "My only regret is that I didn't find you sooner, that you suffered alone for so long before fate brought you to me. Maybe we needed that," I mused. "Maybe we needed to be broken separately so we could heal together, poet." He kissed my temple, my beautiful, brave, impossible poet. We fell asleep tangled together, safe in our fortress, surrounded by guards and guns and all the trappings of his dangerous world. But none of that mattered as much as the simple fact that we had each other. I'd covered his mouth and whispered, "Don't breathe." Now, we breathed together, lived together, loved together. And that made everything, all the danger, all the blood, all the impossible choices, worth it. In the end, I'd wanted to matter. Now I mattered more than I'd ever dreamed possible, and I was finally, beautifully, completely seen.